Welcome to the IDP Plus podcast. My name is Axton, and today I'm going to talk about a few of the top defensive rookie prospects entering the 2025 NFL Draft. Stay right there. In just a second, we'll talk some fantasy football IDP rookies. Welcome to the IDP Plus podcast. As I mentioned before, we're just kind of getting underway with a new revamped version of the channel, website, and everything. So be sure to check that out in the YouTube homepage. We've got the umbrella of accounts that we have. Go ahead and follow our betting channel and all of that. My name is Axton Harding, and before long, you'll start to see a playlist of my own, as well as my colleagues under the IDP Plus umbrella. So whoever you like, whatever podcasters you might like, kind of keep an eye out and you'll see some playlists start to pop up. So this is going to be the start for me. And the first episode here we have, I'm going to go dive into some IDP rookies. This is kind of based or inspired by an AI generated article that we have that Gary Van Dyke put out for us of the top 3 IDP rookies coming into the 2025 draft. This is kind of inspired by that, so I'm going to kind of touch on a few of his guys, and I'm going to add one of my own as well. So you'll kind of see that as well more during the season, where we'll have articles kind of turned into short form videos that kind of articulate in video form for those of you who don't necessarily have the time to read all the time. You just maybe might be listening at work. We're going to kind of do some things like that. So this is kind of the start of all of that. So keep an eye on the YouTube channel. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and start to get into some fantasy football IDP rookies. Up first here, we've got I'm going to talk a little bit about Abdul Carter, a defensive end, outside linebacker, edge rusher, whatever you want to call it. At this point, they're pretty well all the same for fantasy. So this man is coming in from Penn State. He's a freshman All-American in 2022. Also in 2022, he earned third-team Big Ten honors, again, as a freshman. The next year, this edge rusher performed well enough to achieve first-team Big Ten honors in his sophomore season. He also achieved the first-team All-American in 2024, his junior season, and the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, College Football Defensive Lineman of the Year, and he was first in the FBS in tackles for loss with 23.5. He's got full-time experience through all 3 years of college. And if you look at the stats, you kind of saw his pass rush snaps over triple in the amount from his sophomore to junior season, and he generated over double the amount of hurries from this time as well. He's likely going to be one of the top defensive players taken in the draft. But again, with all of this, I just want to reiterate to everybody, when we talk about fantasy football IDP rookies, you kind of have to take everything with a little bit of grain of salt, because it's not often that IDP rookies will come in and just start popping right away. There's very few players that will come in and give you immediate, useful, start-worthy production in year one, whereas on the offensive side, you kind of see a little bit more of that with these generational or more talented college prospects coming into the NFL who are NFL ready. Whereas on the defensive side of the ball, players can play quite a bit longer. They have kind of more of a shelf life, and it takes a little bit more time to develop some young players into the defensive side of the ball. So you don't necessarily always see, or often you won't see rookies come in and just start crushing it right out of the gate. You might see some kind of start off slow and finish their rookie season strong. That's not too uncommon, but it's very rare that you just come out and just pop right out of the gates. Often it might take a year, maybe 2. For defensive linemen, it might take 3 years. So I could think of several guys who, were great rookie prospects coming into the draft, been drafted, and you're probably left a little bit disappointed in terms of production, but now you kind of see year after year they start to develop and production goes up. I think Abdul Carter is going to be, he could be very well one of these guys, depending on landing spot. If he comes in and lands into a position of need where he's going to get run early and often and there's not a lot of competition, yeah, he could be one of those guys that very well pops off in year one. So keep an eye on landing spots for everybody. Landing spots are king. All of these guys are talented. They're in the NFL draft. So landing spot, you will probably find guys that aren't drafted that end up in a very lucrative position for IDP. Just get a lot of snaps, end up with just falling into a lot of production. Sometimes that happens. So pay attention with these top prospects on landing spots. If Abdul Carter gets into a team who really needs it, he could very well look to make a difference for this team, whoever might draft him. So again, just like I say, but as you know, I'm kind of the kind of person who would like to generally expect the worst but hope for the best. So expect none of these guys really to pop off. Kind of draft them as you would be expecting them to kind of produce or take time to develop, at least a year or so. But top of their most of them are top of their positions or close to it. So if you kind of get late in your drafts in the third round, even late in the second, you want to take a shot on one of these guys, sit them on your taxi squad for a couple years, and yeah, you might find yourself some good production out of these guys down the road. Then with all of this on rookies, I will say defensive backs often are the ones that probably get more run in terms of snaps. That's not necessarily, obviously that gives them more opportunity for fantasy production, but there's about 4 or 5 defensive backs per team, so you can generally get defensive backs pretty easily. So no need to take a shot on a defensive back rookie defensive back hoping for early production. Now take someone, honestly there's probably people on your waivers depending on how deep your league is, but we won't get too much into that. Abdul Carter, incredible prospect out of Penn State, an edge rusher that could very well pop if given the right opportunity in year one. Otherwise, you know, I think he could be a very effective edge rusher in the NFL. So I'm not going to lie, I am no rookie savant. I'm going off of some research I did myself and kind of piggybacking off of some of the information that was provided in our article on the website. So again, go ahead and check that out. But we'll move into our next player here. We've got an edge rusher, another outside linebacker, defensive end edge rusher out of Boston College, and that's Donovan. Hope I don't butcher this. Donovan Ezeiruaku. Again, from Boston College. He comes out having had 3 years of experience as a full-time edge rusher, where we saw his snap percentage shoot up 35% his senior year from his junior year. So he led the FBS in sacks per game with 1.38 in his senior year as well. If we want to talk about some awards for Mr. Donovan Ezeiruaku, 2024 ACC Defensive Player of the Year, first team All-ACC, consensus All-American edge rusher. The guy's I actually watched a couple of games of tape on this guy on YouTube that I could find, and he looked pretty nice. He pretty well was always in the right spot. He had pretty good tackling angles, and whenever he was tasked to rush the passer, it kind of seemed like he was always able to kind of make the quarterback kind of have to keep his eyes open on in the back of his head, because he would just kind of either push his lineman kind of in the path of the quarterback and kind of make him adjust, or just some sort of way that he would generate pressure. So and again, looking at the stats, it actually looks like he's always generated pressure, judging by the kind of hurries and pressures that he's able to generate. And then we kind of saw it in his senior year, looking at the stats where things finally started to come together, and he was converting a significant amount more of those pressures and hurries into actual sacks and quarterback hits. So good stats that we like to see for IDP when you can have a player of this caliber who's generating pressure, and then to see them convert it and turn that pressure into hardcore stats that we can actually count on for IDP. That's the things you like to see. Milton Williams is an outstanding example. If you look at his stats through the playoffs, early in the playoffs, he was not quite getting sacks, but he was generating pressure. He was probably leading. I'm pretty sure I checked, and he was leading the NFL up in league going into the Super Bowl in pressures, or at least he was top 3. Anyways, he's not necessarily a household name, not a guy that was really getting a lot of buzz, but he was generating pressures and he was right there on the cusp. And if you go back to the IDP Plus Bets YouTube and you fumble through a few of the last videos of mine and Johnny, you'll see where Johnny put a bet for Milton Williams to get a sack in I think it was the conference championship. No, it was the Super Bowl. It was the Super Bowl, yeah. For Milton Williams to convert those pressures into sacks, and I'll be danged if he didn't just go off in the last 2 games of the NFL playoffs. So guys who are generating pressure, sometimes there's guys that generate pressure that don't necessarily hardly ever turn those into sacks and convert that. And those are the most frustrating players for IDP. But to see Donovan having done that already in college, I like the odds for him. Should he get into a favorable position in the NFL to then learn how to do that on maybe a bigger scale in the best of the best. So, again, that's exactly what we love to see. Turning pressures into stats that we can actually count on for fantasy. So again, want to remind everybody with all of these guys, it's not likely that these guys just come in and are an immediate starter for you. But they are among the top in their class at their position. So within a year, if they get into a good spot, it could be this year, but within a year or 2, you're going to really start to see these guys ramp up production. So just bear all of that in mind. Now we'll move out of the edge rushers and we'll move into an inside linebacker, the top of the class, Jihaad Campbell, inside linebacker from Alabama. He had 2 years as a full-time linebacker in Alabama. He was second-team All-American this last year and first-team All-SEC. The snaps indicate he is a do-it-aller. He had nearly as many snaps in coverage as he did in run defense. Kind of reminds me of a Roquan Smith type player. Now I'm not sure if that's his comp. Again, I'm no rookie IDP savant, but those kind of stats mimic someone who has the ability that Roquan Smith does. So good things that we like to see there. He was also used in the pass rush, where he spent about 12% of his time blitzing a quarterback or lining up on the edge. So we also like to see that for IDP. Again, a Roquan Smith-esque kind of player that can really play in coverage, can play in run defense, and then also rush the quarterback whenever you need him to. Matter of fact, if we want to talk stats, last year he converted 117 total tackles. 11 and a half of those were for a loss. And then he also, in the pass rush game, he generated 5 sacks in the 2024 season. So, excuse me, just from the 2 games of tape that I watched of him, because I did get to watch a couple of games of his on tape from YouTube. And it seemed like he's got outstanding vision. No matter where he's at on the field, his ability to set himself up and get just the right angle on a tackle to prevent further yardage, and also essentially set himself up to be in the best position was great. And it appears as if he has a natural ability to kind of predict the flow of the game and, just like I said, put himself in the best position to be most effective if he's able. So it was actually pretty impressive, both games. He just he just naturally flowed with the rhythm of the ball, and whenever he had a beat on it, he knew exactly where he was going to stop it at, and he attacked. And that's really great to see in a rookie linebacker. So that's 13 games, and if you want 13 games they play in college, 117 tackles, and 11 and a half TFLs, 5 sacks. Got those in 13 games. If you extrapolate that to an NFL season of 17 games, that would have brought in nearly 150 tackles. But the NFL is a different beast, and you're playing with the best of the best there. But just for just kind of something to think about there. So it's not like this guy can't do it. He's proven 117 tackles and 5 sacks. That'd be nice for an IDP in the NFL. So Jihaad Campbell, inside linebacker for Alabama. Keep an eye on where he goes. Actually, there's several spots where he could go in and even as an LB2 and get maybe a rotational role and earn a spot. kind of like in Green Bay last year, where we saw Adrian Cooper kind of nudge out some time into that linebacking core. So it's not uncommon for them to get some run. Just temper your expectations, because don't quite expect someone to hop into a full-time role. It's probably pretty rare for these guys, but who knows? Anything is possible. So this type of player is an NFL coaching dream. Again, just reminds me of kind of having that Roquan Smith ability. So we love to see that. That was Jihaad Campbell. We will wrap the show up here with one more fantasy football IDP, and that's going to be none other than the best defensive back in the 2025 rookie class, and that's Travis Hunter from Colorado State, a cornerback, it appears so far. He's the most versatile athlete in this class, and he's able to play on both sides of the ball very effectively. He was the top high school recruit of the 2022 class. He played 1 year at Jackson State and then transferred to Colorado State, where he played 2 years. And his latest achievements from the 2024 season include the Heisman Trophy, Associated Press College Football Player of the Year, Blitnikoff Award for the top wide receiver, Bednarik Award for the top defender, Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, First Team All-American, All Big 12 as a wide receiver and a cornerback. He's pretty well got the resume that beats all others. I mean, this guy does it all. Scoring touchdowns, he's got PPR upside. For fantasy, though, this is going to be kind of a high-risk, high-reward kind of player, because although, yes, he did play tons of wide receiver in college, I have a hard time believing that he's going to be primary wide receiver, moonlighting as a cornerback. I think this is consensus from what I'm hearing and understanding in the fantasy football community, is that he's probably going to primary as a cornerback who moonlights as a wide receiver. So he's going to play most of his snaps at cornerback, if not all, 100% of snaps at cornerback, and then it's just a matter of how much time he puts in at wide receiver. I don't think it's going to be full-time snaps on both sides of the ball, so do not draft him anticipating for him to play 100 snaps a game. That is not going to happen. The NFL is not going to do that to him, because, frankly, he just would not last that long in the NFL. So that's just not good coaching. You got to give your guys a breather. And although, yes, he is very valuable in that sense, in that he can play both sides, they're probably just going to set up specific packages for him on offense, and he might get anywhere from 30 to 50 snaps. 50% of the snaps would be great if we could see something like that. But again, I would temper expectations in that regard. But nonetheless, if he does play wide receiver, even 30% of the snaps, and gets 3 or 4 targets a game and catches like 2 of them, you're still looking at 2 points for the PPR, and you're still looking at whatever the yardage is, 50 yards a game, 30 to 40 yards a game. There's a 5-point floor right there. So, and that's for the cornerback position. If he gets that dual designation at cornerback and wide receiver, I would not be afraid to, in the second round especially. I mean, it just kind of depends on your league. I mean, it's hard to say. I'm not going to go tell you where you should be drafting him, but nonetheless, it's kind of a, like, again, I'm just going to remind you, it's a high risk, high reward kind of player, because you could very well draft him early and it pay off, but you could also get him a little bit later and it pay off as well, or draft him early and it not work out like you thought. I don't know. Again, it's all about tempering expectations. You know, if you want to take that risk, make sure you have kind of a backup plan, I guess, in case it doesn't work out. Then if it does, oh man, you're set up. So again, tempering expectations. Should he get the dual desi, start him in your defensive back spot and reap some benefits, because I've heard a lot about that it would be silly for NFL teams not to play him on both sides of the ball to some extent. It's just a matter of how much. So bear all of that in mind when you're going to draft him. So that's kind of wrapping up Travis Hunter, not a whole lot else to say. Again, just kind of, evaluate, have that talk with yourself, evaluate your roster, see where you're at, and if you can afford the kind of risk that you might need to take on in order to get him, if he's somebody that you're interested in. So I would honestly consider Travis Hunter probably the most likely IDP in this year's class to produce fantasy-worthy numbers out of the gate, just because of this high-risk, high-reward situation where, I mean, there's so many different outcomes. He could be a shutdown corner, or he could end up a shutdown corner and not get many snaps on the offensive side, which completely just craps the bed for all of this. Or he might not be a shutdown corner, need some developing, be able to get a lot of fantasy IDP production and tackles, pass deflections, interceptions on the defensive side of the ball. And then we might get lucky and he plays 50% of the snaps on the offensive side of the ball and sees five targets, 3 catches a game for 50 yards. And then we're looking at a guy who is just an insane game-breaking kind of player, because if you can put that in your defensive back slot and get 15 points a game, that's insane. That's nuts. That's incredible value for any IDP team. So, all of that to say, take it with a grain of salt, temper expectations, because that is the best of the best outcomes, and it's very unlikely that he plays a huge percent of offensive. It's very unlikely that all of it kind of works in our favor. So, if you got the ability and you have the kind of depth on your fantasy team to take that big swing, more power to you. But again, I'm just gonna reiterate with much of these rookie IDPs that it does take time for them to develop. So this has been fun talking rookie IDPs with you guys today. So you guys keep an eye out on the IDP Plus YouTube channel. We've got tons of stuff coming out. Check out the bets channel. Sebastian's been getting into UFL bets. Season starting. He did great in the NFL season. He has for the last couple of years. The guy's got a good mind and he knows his UFL. So go check out some of his stuff. Go check out the IDP Plus website at idpplus.com. There's subscriptions out there for 20% off. Go look in some descriptions of any of our YouTubes for some discounts. You can find me on Twitter at IXmenIDP. Check it out. We've got tons of stuff, tons of articles coming out right now. We've got tons of videos on our YouTube that are going to be generated or be pumping out ASAP. I'll be putting stuff out fairly regularly. Keep an eye out for those channels, and enjoy it. We've got tons of tools on the website, articles. There's data. There's so many things. If nothing else, get 1 month subscription, check it out, see what we got. If you like it, maybe you sign up for the year long. You come back, check things out. We've got a Discord, 24 hours. You can get in there, post your questions, and as a community, we'll help you get to the right answer. So go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, follow the socials, follow all my guys on Twitter. Check out everybody's stuff right now. We're really going to be ramping things up. So, appreciate everybody for tuning in today. And that has been our first episode getting into IDP rookies. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.